the founder of Indexes. We are a web development company. We're working on large-scale e-commerce websites, business automation projects, and stuff like that. I'm a father since 2009, and today, as I said, I'm working with all this crazy stuff every day at night. So, when you start working with PHP, you basically start with using what's known as a lambda stack. So it's Linux, Apache, MySQL, and PHP. And this is actually a pretty powerful stack, even without frameworks. But if you use some frameworks, it's even more powerful. And you can actually do a lot of stuff with this. So you're working with this, you're learning stuff, and you're starting to think that, well, I can do everything with PHP and MySQL, and that's it. I can search stuff, I can cache pages, process queues, whatever you want. Everything can be done with PHP and MySQL. But really, well, okay. So PHP is becoming a Swiss knife, and you can do everything with it. But really, I mean, wouldn't it be better to use the right tool for the job? So if you have a specific task, then maybe PHP is not the best way to handle it. Maybe there are better tools for specific tasks. So this talk is about expanding your toolbox. So it's from going from the Swiss knife of PHP and MySQL to something more complicated. Then you have a lot of tools in your toolbox. And actually, for the first 10 years I was working with PHP, I was using MySQL and PHP with occasional use of PostgreSQL, but it was just a try. But later, the tasks we were working on became more complicated. And I started to feel that we need to find different solutions for the things. Well, we already did these things with PHP, but it wasn't possible to do it in large scale, so I started to look around. But as myself and the company were using PHP, one of the main criteria was that the technology we choose can be used with PHP. And yes, most of the technologies nowadays can be used and can be easily used with PHP. And there are several factors which actually contribute to this. So first of all, it's open source community. Open source community is crazy. I mean, you cannot imagine what people can do for free if they are interested. And they are doing a lot. But the question is how you can make like thousands of people collaborate on a project and do something really, really interesting. And the answer is GitHub. So, how many of you have contributed to an open source project not on GitHub? Well, one person. And how many of you have contributed to an open source project on GitHub? Okay. So, this was one of the steps in developing collaboration between different systems, not PHP only, but PHP in particular as well. And what's next? So now you have open source community, you have GitHub where this open source community can collaborate, but what about if you're not like part of the community and you're not contributing to stuff, but you just want to use it? And here comes Composer, of course. So I personally think that Composer created kind of a new era in PHP development nowadays. There were no dependency manager for PHP. Well, there were dependency managers for other technologies and languages, but there were no one for PHP. There was Peer, but you actually can't call it real dependency manager. So Composer made it possible to integrate things into your project from GitHub, created by open source community. And, well, there is one more component in this equation, which is REST. So REST, who doesn't know what REST is? Okay, so you get it. With REST, you can actually communicate with any system from basically any language, PHP included. So this is, let's talk about examples of how you can use PHP with other technologies. So first of all, search. So how many of you have used the SQL-like statement for site search? Well, come on, everybody did it. Okay, so, but there are other things you can use for site search except the infamous like statement. So there are Xavier, there are Solar, Elasticsearch, just to name a few. But let's focus on Elasticsearch. Wait a second.
Very fast search.
Okay. So, what is Elasticsearch? Elasticsearch is a search engine, but not only, it's also a NoSQL database. So basically you can store documents in different structure. So Elasticsearch supports the REST interface, and you can put documents in JSON with any structure. And then you can actually search the documents using a lot of various tools for full text search. But it's not only search, you can actually aggregate the data you indexed into Elasticsearch and run reports. Elasticsearch is also very good at processing logs. So you can send a lot of logs into Elasticsearch, and then you can aggregate them, you can search for them, and it's done very easily. So how you can use Elasticsearch with PHP? Well, there are two things. One is Elastic library, which is not framework-dependent library, so you can use it with plain PHP or any framework, and it allows you to connect to Elasticsearch and run queries. So it basically provides an object-oriented interface for Elasticsearch queries. And if you're using Symfony tool, then of course there's a bundle. There's a bundle for everything. And the bundle for Elasticsearch is FOSS Elastic Bundle, which actually uses the root of Elastic library. With the help of this bundle, you can easily index your entities or documents coming from ORM or ODM into Elasticsearch. The bundle provides everything you need for that. And you can also easily configure connection to Elasticsearch in your Symfony application. There are, of course, more open source projects for PHP. Well, there's one actually created by the authors of Elasticsearch, but we are using these two libraries for several years now, and actually I'm very happy with them. So what are use cases for Elasticsearch and PHP? First of all, it's site search. That's pretty simple, it's full text search. Then catalogs. As I mentioned, we're doing a lot of e-commerce websites, and well, for several years now we're using the different technologies, so all the products, the categories, and list of products are displayed directly from Elasticsearch. So when you go to a category on a website or on an online store, it's actually a search for products in that category. The beauty of it is that Elasticsearch is scalable, so you do not depend on a single MySQL server or read-only slaves and stuff like that. You can just easily get bots and scale your website. Faceted navigation. So one of our colleagues, Ruslan, had presented a talk about faceted navigation, but basically what it is ability to select options on the online stores. So for example, if you're searching for TV, you can narrow down your search by TV screen size or number of HDMI outputs and stuff like that. So the thing you see on the left column normally on the website. and we're doing it with Elasticsearch. Data aggregation dashboards. What we're using it for is we have an internal reporting system which is indexing our Jira issues, the task management system issues, and creating a lot of internal reports with Elasticsearch, all of it real time, and for the pretty long period of time. Logs and aggregation, of course. So there are some numbers on the right. We are sending about 10 gigabytes of logs per day to Elasticsearch, and then using it to analyze it. And we are searching through 500,000 products with 150,000 people visiting the site every day. So next, caching. So who have tried to use different sort of caching to speed up their website? A lot of people. Okay. So there are multiple ways of doing caching, but today I want to talk about varnish. So what is varnish? Varnish is a reverse proxy. And actually you may wonder why I selected this picture of a vending machine. And the answer is because varnish is kind of a vending machine. Basically, it caches the full page or partial page, but it has a tray, same as the vending machine. So when you come to a vending machine, you just pay and it dispenses whatever you paid for. And it does it quickly, so nobody goes to the kitchen to prepare something, the vending machine just gives it to you. So the varnish does the same, and it's very fast. So less than 10 millisecond response time, hundreds of requests per second on a single machine. And one of the great features of varnish is partial caching. So if you have, for example, a website with login, and on the top of the page you have like a login box, and if somebody is logged in and displays the name of the person, varnish can cache the whole page except for this box. And this box can be rendered dynamically, but the rest of the page will be covered from the vending machine. Okay, so how to use PHP with varnish? Well, that's pretty easy. You can just use the header function, because all you need to do is to tell varnish for how long it needs to cache the page. So you just send the header with max age or expires, and varnish understands it. You can use Symfony 2, which has very great support for varnish, including ESI, so this partial caching exercise included. So you can have multiple requests in your Symfony 2 page, and different requests can be cached separately by varnish. So some of the numbers, we have about 10 million hits per day on a varnish, and it's just one server. It's backed by 5 backends, but the good thing is that it provides 80% hit rate. So 80 people out of 100 gets the page from the vending machine very, very fast. Okay, so next, the use cases. Caching static pages, caching static assets. So even if your page is fully dynamic, your CSS, your JavaScript, your images are normally static, and varnish can cache them and serve them faster, basically than most of the web servers, especially Apache. So Nginx may be probably the same performance for static, but you can, use varnish for both caching static assets and full page. And varnish is also good at handling traffic spikes. So if you're expecting a real traffic spike, like your page is going to be on Reddit or other major site, be prepared and set up varnish. Because even if you cache your page for 1 minute or 30 seconds, it can actually save you. Okay, next. Queues. So, there are multiple tasks requiring processing stuff one by one. Computers are powerful, but if you need to do a lot, it takes time, and you need to manage the queues. So we are using RabbitMQ. So RabbitMQ is a robust messaging server supporting AMQP protocol, and it can provide various things. You can use it for background operations, for distributed tasks, and well, I'll have use cases on the next slide. So let's see first of all how we can connect RabbitMQ with PHP. And same thing, there's a library and there's a bundle for Symfony 2. The library can be used independently. The library actually implements the real complicated AMQP binary protocol in pure PHP. So you don't need to install some modules and do some stuff, ask your system administrator or DevOps team if you have one to do something. You just require this library through Composer and you can use RabbitMQ. And the bundle is just a wrapper for Symfony 2, which provides some more nice functionality, configuration management, and Symfony command to create consumers. So the use cases. Sending emails. Well, sending emails is pretty simple task. Well, until you need to send like 1 million emails per day. And especially if you need to send it at some given time. So we're using RabbitMQ for preparing emails which needs to be sent at some particular time. We're actually sending 250,000 emails every day, and on some days we're sending another 1 million. What we are doing, we are preparing the messages and sending them into RabbitMQ queue. And then they have like 8 servers consuming from these queues and sending messages at once. Indexing data into Elasticsearch. So most of the websites have some kind of administrative panel and people are indexing stuff, editing stuff, and normally the data is stored in relational database, but you need to index it. So this is also done with RabbitMQ. So whenever something is edited in the database, we are queuing message into RabbitMQ, and then they have consumers on multiple servers which index data into Elasticsearch. Same for handling external data. So if you need to import, I don't know, 1,000 products or 100,000 products from a vendor, we can just create a queue, and then we can have multiple consumers on different servers handling this queue and importing the products. Delay time-consuming operations. Well, similar to indexing data in Elasticsearch, there are cases then the user changed one number in one field and you need to recalculate 1,000 of numbers everywhere else. And this is where RabbitMQ comes to help, because you don't need to make the user wait until the system recalculates everything. You can just queue the message and have the consumer do the job in the background. Also, one thing is communication with Node.js. This is very interesting. We once had a project of online auction, which was, the front end was on Node.js and Socket.io, but we still need to communicate from PHP and actually tie that together through RabbitMQ. Yeah, and it can be used to ship logs to Elasticsearch. So you can see how all of this is connected together. Okay, next, PDF. That's something simple. So I think most of you, well, at least once needed to create a PDF document from PHP. And it was complicated, well, at least some time ago. So, but today, I want to talk about this thing with cumbersome name, which is WK-HTML to PDF. It's a C++ library. It's pretty complicated. It's using WebKit engine. So basically, you can create HTML, and if it renders fine in Google Chrome, it will be rendered fine in PDF. Available for most of the platforms. So, how to use it from PHP? Well, it's pretty simple. You got the library, you got Symfony 2 bundle. And you don't need to know about like the command line arguments of the library or the binary. You just need to use the library. You get it from Composer, you give it HTML file, or just HTML code, and you get your PDF. That's pretty simple. Next, testing. So, how many of you do testing? Okay. How many of you have automated testing? That's good. So how we are doing testing with PHP? And here I'm talking not about unit testing, but functional testing. So we want to automatically click through the website and make sure that everything is fine on the website. So what do we use? Well, not this. So Phantom.js. So Phantom.js is a headless browser. So it's a browser without a head. Actually, it doesn't require GUI. It can run on Linux in background. You don't need the window where everything happens. It's very fast. It's also using WebKit engine. And it's compatible with WebDriver. That's something from Selenium, if you've heard about it. And we are using it to run tests from PHP, functional tests. How do we integrate Phantom.js with PHP? Well, there's BHAT, which is BTT framework, and the author of BHAT doesn't like them. We call it functional testing framework, but in fact it can be used as such. And there's Mean, which is a browser control abstraction. So that's a PHP library, which allows you to control remotely browsers. And Phantom.js is one of the browsers it can control through the driver or Selenium protocol. If you need to run a lot of tests, it can be slow. So you need multiple servers running the tests. And there's Selenium Grid for that. But actually in our experience it didn't work well. So we created our own version in Node.js, which actually distributes the tests to different Phantom.js instances. And all of this is controlled from PHP. So to write a test, the developer just write PHP code or even plain text, because PHP supports what's called Gherkin. It's almost plain English language for writing tests. Some stats, we are running our test suite is currently 2,000 functional tests, and we run tests on every branch and every pull request we do. It happens automatically, so we're having like 200 builds per day, and the whole suite of 2,000 tests run in 10 minutes, thanks to Phantom.js, which is really fast. Okay, next. So, one-click deployment. So the question, how many of you are using the famous deployment way of doing SVN app or git pull? Come on. Come on. I don't believe you. Well, I guess everybody have used that, but we don't. We are using automated deployment with one click, almost one click. So how we do it in PHP? Well, we used the tool called Thing, which is PHP build system, which is basically a port of Ant, which is known in Java world, but in PHP. But recently, we changed to use Deployer, which is a small PHP project within you, but it allows you to quickly configure automatic deployment and just run it. And one of the very good things we're using for quite some time is doctrine migration. So when you need to deploy database changes, you don't go to PHP MyAdmin and run the queries in production. You're creating migrations. And Deployer supports using migrations. So during the deployment process, the SQL queries are executed in production and the database schema is changed. Deployer is really simple. It's written in PHP for PHP. And one of the major features it provides, well, it actually allows you to implement is one-click rollback. So one-click rollback is a very important feature because if something goes wrong, you can instantly switch to the previous version of the application you had in production. Well, use cases for deployment are pretty obvious. Deploying to staging, deploying to production, deploying to clusters, and actually do all of this. And, well, then you need to deploy one site to one server, it's really simple. But when you need to deploy 10 websites, which are in the same code repository, to 5 servers, without downtime of any single request, it becomes more complicated. But with the help of deployer and Think, which we used previously, it's really achievable. Okay, so conclusion. Well, the right tool for the job. Select when you have a task to solve. Don't use the squeeze stack. Use the tool which is actually suited for doing this task well. But you need to select your tool carefully. I named a few tools during the talk, but there are more. For every task I mentioned, there are more tools. And I just shared the results of our research and experience. And we actually tried different tools as well. And some of them work, some of them not. So selecting the tool is really important. And one more thing is, do not use different tools for the same task. So if you are using, I don't know, Elasticsearch as your search engine, don't use, for example, Solr or something on a different project. I mean, if you work for a company, if you work in a team, because it can create a lot of problems. But at the same time, you need to revise your selection. So actually, the example of Solr and Elasticsearch is from our experience. We've been using Solr for all of the projects. And then Elasticsearch came out, and we researched, and we liked it. And then we made the decision that we want to switch to Elasticsearch, and then we switched all the projects. Because when you have different technology in different projects, it's what we call a zoo, because you have a lot of animals and you need to feed them all. Well, and the bottom line is that PHP can be easily integrated with almost any technology nowadays. So don't limit yourself with just PHP and some framework. Look around, expand your toolbox. And actually, there's one more thing. It's not really related to this talk, but I just wanted to share. So then in that, when you have a question, you should talk to the elephant, especially if you are writing in PHP. The elephant will not respond, obviously, because it's just a toy. But it will help you. Just think about it, and next time you have a question, try talking to the elephant. That's actually not my idea. I heard it on a different conference, and then I came back. I actually bought the toy elephants for everybody in the company. At that time, there were like 15 people. Now there are 35. So not everybody had the elephant, but they're still on all of the tables in our office, and you will have a chance to see them. Well, basically that's it. If you have any questions, you can ask now or later, and keep in mind that we are always hiring, and I think I have one more elephant somewhere, so I can share it. So, the fun part, right? Well, you can ask now, or you can ask me during the after party.
Or during the job interview.
No. During job interview, I am the one asking questions.
So if you somebody picks
Well, there are multiple X's. It depends on your equation. Well, but they are all working together with PHP. That was the main idea. And, you know, they love PHP, even if they don't know it.
I don't understand the technology to convert PDF or PHP document to PDF.
Sorry?
We have like some things to convert PHP document to PDF document.
No, the tool was called HTML to PDF. And I was talking about using this tool from PHP if you need to build a PDF document from HTML. Well, you can also, I think you can use it just to convert PHP document into PDF. I'm not sure if any compiler supports PHP code from PDF. But maybe you can create one. I mean, put it on GitHub, get some contributors.
In one of your examples, you said that you are using 8 servers to send to them 250,000 emails daily. Are these dedicated mail servers or not? And why you are not using OSSS? Because it could be much more. This would reduce your costs down.
Well, we have a very complicated email infrastructure. In fact, to send this 250,000 emails per day, I mentioned we're using 2 servers and we're using 8 servers to send the batches of 1 million per day. And I would argue here about costs on AWS. Well, we're using it from private cloud, we have private infrastructure. Any more questions? Yes, please.
Maybe some of off topic. In one of your previous slides, you said us that PHP plus MySQL can do everything. Do you have plans for changing that slides to substitute MySQL for MariaDB?
Well, I guess I will not substitute the slide because I think that like much more people heard of MySQL than MariaDB. But I'm sure that well, obviously you can use PHP with MariaDB. So that can be just one more X.
I have good tools for some business problems. For example, if you have business problem that you want to go for fishing or whatever else and you have to convince your wife, then you take these 2 technologies.
Thanks. So, now the fun part, right? So, I guess everybody have subscribed for GoPro camera contest, and let's do it. So, this will be a live demo. The thing you normally don't do during the presentation, but I'll try.
This is how you launch your first big project.
Yeah, back in the days it was like that.
No version
No, version control was there. It was CVS. Do you know what it is? Okay, cool.
It's okay.
I just need to figure out how to enable mirroring. Okay, it works. So, the good old way to run the contest.
Where you will not vacation, yes.
Sorry?
Where you will not vacation, yes.
Okay, so I have the database of all of your submissions. It's live. And I'm going to run this query. We'll get the first name and last name of the lucky winner.
Can you put the last name of the last?
Well, we are not searching for the winner. Okay, so...
But this query is giving one result even if there's only one result in the table.
Okay.
Union is so adult.
I'm on remote desktop, so it's very slow.
Remote desktop is really slow. It was faster during the talk. I guess everybody is using their phones now.
А что будет там? Если один человек зарегался там 50 раз.
Вы проверяли. Перед тем, как я начал. Well, it's actually handy. That's why we don't do live demos. Especially on Wi-Fi and remote desktop. Well, it just doesn't respond. Well,
share data over Wi-Fi.
Okay, we'll just connect to different Wi-Fi.
Хотите все?
Быстренько Тjuterev напишем.
Костя, я знаю, что делать там, забыли написать. Не забрать девайс, потому что
Я пошел. Так. Ты меняешь iPhone на iPhone. Было проще.
So we have 137 submissions to the contest.
Are there stick values?
Okay. So 1, 2, 3. Goodness, guys, is yours here? Wow. Okay, yeah? You are prepared.